If you're a small business owner, I understand why you might not want to become a big business owner, some massive conglomerate or monopoly in the world. I understand it because I speak to so many small business owners through emails, on cold calls, and over the last year, the amount of small business owners that have just given me mostly 99% of the time the exact same reasons why they don't want to grow. And in this video, I want to go through some of those reasons because I think they resonate with most business owners, and actually why I think, because of the online world and social media marketing and everything, why you're kind of being sold a lie on the reasons for growing versus against growing. Because naturally, who doesn't want a nicer quality of life? Who doesn't want a nicer standard of living? Who doesn't want to choose between whether they grow their business, just manage it, sell it, have the options to do what they want to do with it? So I'm going to start off by going through the reasons against growing your business. And these are basically the most common objections I've got in cold calls, and I hope this is such a slippery radiator to have this whiteboard on, so if it does fall mid-recording, this would be hilarious. But I'm going to go through 3 reasons against and 3 reasons for growing your business. So one of them is basically more of a psychological one, and then the other 2 are, again, one's a bit psychological, but it kind of comes down to media influence. So the first one is, it's kind of like a cognitive limiting bias thing. It kind of going into the world of psychology here. But the law of small numbers is basically that if you've had a few bad experiences before, there we go, much better pen. Law of small numbers. So what this means is that, I'll just write numbers, there we go. So the law of small numbers basically just means that if you've had a few bad experiences before, you now have a negative bias connotation, whatever you want to call it, against doing that thing again or doing a similar thing again. And it's understandable, people have sometimes had bad experiences with a new local restaurant that opened up in a local area, or like an Uber they got into on holiday and now they suddenly don't like Uber. Whereas, let's say before Uber, before the whole branding of a new cab company came out around the world, like Uber or Lyft or whatever it might be, imagine if you got in a random local cab company on holiday and you got into a taxi to take you to your hotel or your resort or whatever it might be, and that was a very bad experience on this one random holiday, one random year of your life with your family. But you don't suddenly think that every single taxi you get in on every other holiday for the foreseeable future, or any other taxi for any other reason in your life, is going to be bad, purely because of that one experience. Or maybe, you have like a bad takeaway on holiday or vacation, and you don't suddenly start thinking that every single other takeaway in your life is going to be bad because of that one takeaway. But yet, for some reason, in business, we think that, we've hired a few bad apples, we've hired a couple of people that didn't work out, they were part-timers, full-timers, commission-based people, whatever it might have been, contractors, freelancers, paid people, whatever it might have been in that specific situation. Because of those situations, we somehow now think that every future situation is going to be like that. And it's further from the truth. And to be honest, I think it does just link to a couple of other reasons I'm going to go through in just a moment. But if you think that one bad experience, or even just a few bad experiences, like 1 to 10 bad experiences, equal your future, then it's just further from the truth. Because we know from so other areas and factors in our life where there's a few bad experiences, they don't, have a correlation to future bad experiences. But the next one kind of is where I think this comes from, but in a much deeper, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole of it in this video, but media influence. And the reason I think media influence is so important in this one is because this goes a lot deeper than what I'm going to go into. Like, I could make a 10-hour video talking just about this, but I think that the media, news especially, TV programs, films, shows, whatever it might be, and again, I could go down a rabbit hole of how purpose or intentional or non-intentional this is, but naturally it's just a fact. There is influence in the media, news, TV shows, films, dramas, whatever it might be, where we get our own belief systems about reality and the way the world works and what we think about people and the way we perceive certain classes in society, whatever it might be. And we make our perceptions of those based on the realities we are told in the media. For instance, we get our world news from online, from social media, from news networks, news channels. And so if the news paints most wealthy and rich people or business owners in a negative light, where most of the only good work they do is philanthropic work, if you want to call it that, then of course we're going to have a negative bias towards people that are rich or wealthy. So naturally, whatever we try and do in our lives that connect to us wanting to be rich or wealthy, wanting to win a lottery, wanting to make this business work, or wanting to make this business grow, wanting to make money in our life, we're actually going to like subconsciously, not to go too like psychoanalytical, I'm not going to go deep on this, but we're actually going to get in our own way of our own wishes or dreams or goals in our life purely because of media's influence on this. So if you don't have an awareness of the media's influence over your own perception of reality, and again, I don't want to go down, I want to keep this about marketing and business and helping business owners. I don't want to go down some spiritual or psychological rabbit hole, but just understand most people are aware of the common sense of media's influence on our lives, but understand that it might be contributing to any negative connotations or like biases you have towards certain types of people. Like most small business owners, I know for a fact, because my parents are small business owners and I'm a small business owner, there's been times where you just have spite or any negative emotion towards wealthy or rich people. But yet if you would like to be one of those people yourselves, you're never going to get there if you keep having that belief about it. And so be aware of that media influence there and how that can have an effect on it. And so all of this kind of really ties into each other, really. But the last one is ultimately just basically coming down to this, which is future problems, if you can actually read that properly, because this pen is, all my pens are dying on me. These all kind of go along with each other and kind of coincide with one another, because I think the law of small numbers plays on to future problems. And what I mean by future problems is I think a lot of people, again, it's kind of like an excuse or coping, whatever it might be, but I think a lot of small business owners project absolute unrealistic worst case possible scenarios for why they wouldn't want to grow their business. And they project these crazy outcomes that would only be associated with like multi-million or multi-billion dollar companies. And yet, let's be honest, if you're a tradesman making 50, 100, 200k a year, you're not going to have a multi-million pound or dollar problem in a business that's only making a few $100,000 a year. If you want to 10x your business going from 50 to 500k, you're not going to have a $10 million problem in a 500k a year business, because you're not going to have that level of business to have that level of problem. So ultimately, it does just come down to some of the reasons why you might be creating excuses from these other areas. For instance, a future problem might be, well, once I have a team of 10 or 20 people, that's going to be a stressful time. I don't want to have to manage 10 or 20 people. And in reality, you don't. If you have 10 or 20 people, you'd have a manager to manage or an assistant or a supervisor to manage those people. But let's digress. Naturally, it is just going to be connected to this and also to this. They're going to be connected to each other. And ultimately, it comes down to coping and excuses. And again, I'm not here to like say these are bad or good. I'm just saying that there's just the nature of all of these lining up with each other. We will naturally create excuses for certain things. The same way that I'm a fairly skinny guy, I need to put on weight, I will create multiple excuses and coping reasons for why I don't want to put on weight or why I find it difficult to put on weight. We'll all cope and have excuses for different things in life. So it's ultimately just having more awareness for why this is happening. And then you're able to actually deal with why you might actually want to not have any of these thoughts and opinions about it, so that you can actually make the decision to grow your business or to get to a desired level, so that you can go on nicer holidays, vacations, spend time with family, buy nicer things. Because why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't you want to have nicer vacations with your family, be able to spend more time with your family, spend more time with your children, spend more time with your friends, brothers, sisters, whoever it might be, siblings, parents, buy nicer things for them without having to worry about the cost of it? Because that's ultimately the outcome of not worrying and letting go of these things. So let's go on to the reasons for now, because ultimately this is what I think you haven't been told when it comes to all of these other influencers and marketing gurus trying to sell you on their lead generation programs and all of their, I'm going to guarantee you X amount of leads in the next. I hate leads, by the way, just a caveat. As a marketing guy, as an agency owner, I hate guaranteed leads, because leads aren't customers, leads aren't clients. And maybe you resonate with that, maybe you don't, but I really hate the guarantee of something that's only a possibility. Like, if you're guaranteeing leads, you're not guaranteeing anything. Like, unless you're guaranteeing 1 million leads a month or 1,000 leads a month, or the warmest leads, because again, it's either way, it's a rabbit hole. I digress. But either way, let's go on to the reasons for. So these are everything you haven't been told yet as to why you might actually want to grow your business, get to a consistent point of revenue, have no more inconsistent income, have guaranteed clientele or customers, have guaranteed average like quarterly figures, whatever it might be. Obviously, there's times in the year when you don't have perfect months or perfect quarters, but overall in the year, the average income is good for your business. So the first reason is to grow. The second reason is manage. And then the third might be to retire. And this applies to all levels of people, like regardless of what age or experience you have in your business. If you are just a business owner and you want to get to this level, it doesn't matter if you're an 18-year-old, a 35-year-old, a 55-year-old, or an 85-year-old. All of these can be possible within just less than 5 years. Now, with social media and the internet, you can get to this point within 3 to 5 years. And it's possible. So, grow. What does grow mean? Well, ultimately, grow means that you have the option to grow your business if you want. Do you want to, get to the point where you're growing it beyond your original target or goal of revenue or profit? Do you want to, you might realize that once you start growing your business, you end up enjoying growing it, and you don't want to grow it to the original target. You want to grow it to 5, 10, 15x. You want to hire this management team. You want to hire these people. You want to test different things, and you just love growing the business now. So that is totally cool and fine. You can start growing the business and do whatever you want with that. And then you might realize, actually, I don't want to grow the business anymore, but I do just want to kind of have the business. I enjoy the process of whatever I'm doing. I just don't really want it to make it any bigger. I'll grow it with inflation, but that's it. So you might just want to manage it, in which case you're just basically managing the team of people you've brought up to you. You're managing a few full-timers, part-timers, whatever position you've got to. You're just working on what you want to work on. You have a few high-profit projects. You've got a few high-ticket clients, whatever it might be. You're in that position where you're just managing what you have and what you have had, and you're not worrying about inconsistent revenue, inconsistent profits. You have what you have. You've got more than you need. You've got more people inquiring than you could ever need. And that is in a perfect position to be, because ultimately you always want to be like oversubscribed. You always want to have more demand than supply. And that way you're never ever going to run out of business, and you're always going to have the profit margins and profit and desired revenues you want in the business, and never have any bad times. And then the final option is retiring. So obviously for near retirees, this might be perfect for you. You can retire early. You can do whatever you want. Or if you do want to retire at 35, 45 or 75, whatever it is, you have that option. But there's two types of retiring in this case, because you have retiring in the sense of actually retiring. You could sell the business, take a nice cash payday, and then just live off that, invest that in the stock market, do what you want with it. You've got that money, you've got a few $100,000. To be honest, if you built a business up to a few $100,000 per year, you've probably got at least a few million now you've sat on. So it could be a nice pension fund, whether you are retiring early, go on to another business if you're slightly younger, or maybe you are nearly retiring. You've now spent the last couple of years building a business up to 5 or 10x what it was now, and you've got to the point where you can sell it for a couple of million or a few million. And, it's crazy to think that a couple of years ago, you might have been in a position where you're only making 70, 80k a year. Now you're making 200-300k a year, and the business is worth 800,000 or $1 million. And then you sell it, and that's your pension. You've got 10 times the pension you had before. Or you might decide that I've got a business, I don't want to sell it. I do just want to kind of hire a CEO or a managing director to come in and just basically manage the day-to-day operations for me. Maybe once in a while, I still like the idea of doing a team meeting once a month or once a quarter or whatever, catching up on the daily reports, monthly reports, whatever it might be. But ultimately, you just want to retire, take some dividends and live off that. And that's also an option too. In fact, I think arguably the second option of retiring and just being a shareholder for dividends is one of the best options you can have, especially if you bring on someone that's a really good operator. You could bring on someone that maybe wants to take the business to a next level, and you can literally retire and it's like investing in the stock market after you've sold your business. But instead of selling your business, it's the stock market giving you like 100% a year or 50% a year, because you've still got someone growing it for you. So there's multiple options there in each one. But either way, all of these ultimately result in the freedom of choice, which I think any business owner should have. Every business owner should want the freedom of choice, because small business owners in most of the world are stuck in their current position. You're stuck between inconsistent revenue, inconsistent customers or clients each month, and you don't have the ability to know, I know in this next month I can get a minimum of 5 or 10 projects or X amount of projects that I need to sustain a healthy profit margin that I want in my business. Most business owners aren't even able to sustain just a healthy revenue, let alone healthy profit. So just getting to a position where you don't have to worry about your balance sheet. You don't have to look at your balance sheet and want to have a headache over it anymore. You don't have to worry about, do you have enough money for this or that? You can go on whatever holiday you want. You can spend money on whatever you want without really thinking about it anymore. Even if you only have a bigger small business, even if you're only making a 300k a year compared to 50k a year, you're in dreamland, because you're making 10 times the income. You don't have to worry about it anymore. So it's ultimately about this freedom of choice. Do you want to grow the business? Do you want to just manage it? Do you want to retire, just take dividends, or retire and invest in the stock market? It's about having that freedom to choose. And so regardless of what situation you're in your business, I want you to get to here if you really want to do that. So if you want to know more about how this is possible, then as you know, a marketing guy myself, we can see if you're in a position right now where we can potentially help you get to this point. We help small business owners specifically get to this point where they can choose what position they want to be in for their business as they've grown it and as we help them grow it. So if you want more help with that, follow the link below to book a free call, or just, download our free worksheet to see, basically a blueprint to growing this, like actually getting to this point. It's like an easy blueprint to follow. But either way, I hope you've enjoyed this video and found some value in it. If you have, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I'll see you in the next video. Be sure to hit the notification bell as well to see whenever I next go live, or upload a video for that matter. So I really go live on this channel. But nonetheless, that's about it. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.